Okay, so welcome everybody. So first of all, I just want to let everyone know we're soon going to have a big campaign to help raise the rest of the funds that we need to um, secure the property next door to Chabad. Um, so I'll let you guys know soon about that. If anyone wants to help and like make a team and try to get friends or acquaintances of yours to donate towards this big campaign, you let me know and I'll soon let you know how to do that. So yeah, we're gearing up for something big. Okay, and then also May 5th, we're having Lag BaOmer picnic. So hope to see you all there. It's always a lot of fun. And we have a barbecue and always um, nice event. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, I know what just happened to Anna. She disappeared. Okay. So we see around, oh, there she goes. Here's back. Okay, Anna's riding her bike, and we see she might be bumping into signs that say sidewalk closed or caution, or you might see sometimes you're walking and you see hard hat area, um, and you see them all over the place. And the reason for that, right, is warning you about a certain area that may be not so safe to be cautious. So the Torah actually has laws about this. And the Torah forbids us from, quote, putting a stumbling block before the blind. Okay, so basically, be careful about um, making, there shouldn't be any hazards, warning people of a hazard, or don't let there be a hazard that someone may hurt themselves. So this is mostly, it sounds physical, like a physical hazard, but we also are going to talk today about non-physical hazards, maybe a moral hazard or spiritual hazards, business advice that we give others, all kinds of things that um, that could be a hazard, could be a stumbling block to others, which we're going to discuss. Um, and our bottom line we're going to discuss today is how to give proper advice to others that to help others with no personal interests in mind. Okay. So today's Chumash, and we read about um, we read about this. Let's read it inside. Text number 1, I guess, Carrie.
you shall not you shall not curse a deaf person. You shall not place a stumbling block before a blind person, and you shall fear your God. I am God.
Okay. So don't put something physical in the way of a blind person, right? Someone, so they won't get hurt. But we already learned there actually are other laws earlier in the Torah that talk about something very, very similar. They talk about digging a pit and what happens if you dig a pit that someone falls into. So let us read text number 2. Who else could read? Batya, can you read? Does your thing work? Okay.
And if a person opens a pit, or if a person digs a pit and does not cover it, and a bull or donkey falls into it, the owner of the pit shall pay. He shall return money to its owner, and the dead body shall be his.
Okay. So it doesn't quite say you may not do A, B, C, but does say you're held liable if someone falls into a pit you dug. So what's the new point that we learned here in this week's parsha where it says don't put a stumbling block before the blind? Isn't this pretty much the same thing? Why is it in two different places, two different things? Not just that, but there are more laws about safeguarding areas that we talk about in the Torah and in different places. That's the text number 3. Anyone else that could read? Liat, are you able to read? If not, we'll go back to Carrie. Okay, Carrie.
I'll read. When you build a new house, you shall make a guardrail for your roof, so that you shall not cause blood to be spilled in your house, that the one who falls should fall from it, the roof.
Okay, so that's kind of graphic. But basically, there's a mitzvah to put safeguards and to prevent injuries. Um, so that's one part of the mitzvah. The other part is like a transgression. Do not cause harm to somebody. Don't let that happen. Let's read text 4a. Back to Batya. And if anyone else could read that's on, you let me know, okay? But I know Catherine said she can't read. I know that Anna's riding her bike and Liat a lot of times is busy. Okay.
Okay. Sorry. The positive mitzvah to build a guardrail on the roof of a house. The commandment instructs us to remove hazards and dangers from all our dwellings. This is why we must build a protective wall around the roof, around pits, ditches, and anything similar, so that no one in danger might fall from them or into them. Likewise, any unsafe or unstable places must be repaired or constructed in a way that eliminates the risk and removes the danger.
Okay. And so we have to, okay, we said that. Okay. Text number 4b. Carrie, continue.
Oh, good. I get to keep reading.
Yeah, you're going to read a lot today.
The Torah warns against leaving traps or obstacles in our land or our homes so that people should not die because of them. As it says, you shall not cause blood to be spilled in your house. In the words of the Sifrei, you shall make a guardrail is a positive commandment, while do not cause blood is a prohibition.
Okay, so why do we have all these different places talking about these stumbling blocks or these hazards that, you don't want to get in trouble over? So the one in this week's Parsha, second, let's see, Yvette. Are you joining us, Yvette? Okay, well, can you call me from your desk or no? Because I'm already started. Okay. Okay. So sorry. So why do we have all these? So basically over here in this week's Parsha, we're not just talking about physical stumbling blocks, like don't put a what's it called? Don't put like a block or a rock for a blind person physically, but we're also talking about intangible types of ways of putting a quote unquote stumbling block in front of somebody. So don't put something in don't mislead someone, don't who lacks clarity. Okay, so let us read text number 5. We're going to go back to Carrie.
What emerges is this. When it comes to creating a physical hazard with one's own hands, there is a distinct prohibition derived from the verse, you shall not cause blood to be spilled in your house. The prohibition of you shall not place a stumbling block before a blind person, however, was applied by the sages to a different kind of stumbling block. Not a physical danger, but misleading someone with harmful advice that leads to sin. For example, if the question arises about whether a certain woman is permitted to a Kohen, and you falsely answer yes, you cause him to marry her when in fact she is forbidden. Another example is giving advice that causes financial loss, or handing a cup of wine to a Nazir, or a limb from a living animal to a non-Jew. This is an entirely different matter and therefore requires its own separate warning.
Okay, so we're basically, in short, we're not saying that don't physically put something in the way that someone will get hurt, but even someone will get hurt by something that you do for them or tell them to do or give advice or whatever it is. So we're going to discuss different types of these intangible stumbling blocks. Hi, Valentina. Love your hair. Okay. So let us now, we're going to look at Rashi to see how he explains this matter. Okay, text number 6. Batya, you want to read?
Yeah, well, you shall not place a stumbling block before a blind person. Before a person who is blind regarding a matter, you shall not give advice that is unsuitable for them. For instance, do not say to someone, sell your field and buy a donkey with the proceeds, while in truth, you plan to cheat them since you yourself will take it from them.
Okay, so what is Rashi saying different than what I already mentioned before? Okay, don't put a stumbling block. Don't tell someone some bad business advice because you're going to gain from it, or what's going on over here. But Rashi on the bottom, if we read the last line he writes about, is like, oh, don't do it because you plan on cheating them and you'll gain yourself. So what does that mean? Basically, Rashi isn't bringing out something Rashi is bringing out something new. He's saying is don't give advice that will make don't give advice with a bad intent. So even if the advice might be good advice for the person, but you're going to do something because of it, you're going to gain out of it in some way, then maybe it's not such a good thing to do. Text number 7. Let's see what it says here. Giving advice for your own gain turns guidance into self-serving behavior. Okay. Text number 7. Valentina, are you able to read?
Yes.
Okay. You look really excited today.
I love it. With the addition of the closing phrase, you plan to cheat them since you yourself will take it from them. Rashi emphasizes that the problem is not simply causing the blind person to exchange a field for a donkey, since that is itself does not necessarily result in a loss.
Okay. So basically, it's not particularly that you're giving them bad advice, but that you're partial in the matter. You are trying to make a gain. You're telling them something because you yourself are going to gain from that thing. So that's where the problem lies, that your intent is not really for their good, but really you're going to gain out of it too. Like today, it's a very normal, unfortunately, it's a very normal and common practice in, say, in business or in things today. Oh, yeah, if you do this and you do that, that's what's going to be the right thing for you to do. And need me to do it, so of course I'll make money on it, right? Or, oh, this appliance you can't fix it. You can fix it, it's so expensive, but just buy a new one from our store. So this happens, unfortunately, a lot, but this is considered putting a stumbling block before the blind, okay?
Also, it seems like, if you're gonna steal somebody's 20 acres of land for a donkey, I think that's a big lie.
Right, no, but they say, let's say this is some kind of specialized donkey or the land is really bad and it even is a good deal. But if you're giving them that deal because it's something that you're going to gain also out of it, then it's not good. So let us read text number 8. Carrie?
I can read if you need to.
Oh, okay. So I'll have you go next, okay?
Okay.
Carrie.
The Torah is warning against offering advice to someone that is unsound for them, but according to the mode of life or the benefit of the advisor.
Okay, so the person who is advising is going to gain from this. And text number 9. 1 second. Okay, yeah, Liat.
Okay. This is brought out in the example cited above. Do not say to someone, sell your field and buy a donkey, and then cheat them since you yourself will take it from them. It may very well be that one receiving advice will not suffer any actual loss at all. Still, since the advice is unsuitable for them, not truly needed for their situation, the Torah forbids it. For when giving advice to another person, one must think only of that person's circumstances and determine what is genuinely appropriate for them, and not exploit the situation for one's own profit, and then cheat them since you yourself will take it from them. One might argue, if the person who is blind regarding the matter loses nothing at all, then what's the problem if the advisor benefits?
Okay, one second, it continues. Okay.
This is exactly what Rashi
Mhm.
addressed when he explains, "You shall not place a stumbling block before a blind person. Before a person who is blind regarding a matter, you shall not give advice that is unsuitable for them." Here, a stumbling block includes even a case where the blind person has not suffered any actual financial loss, but the stumbling block lies solely in the nature of the advice itself, advice that is unsuitable for them. The one who is blind regarding a matter believes the advisor is offering them advice that is in their best interest, while in reality, the advisor is cheating them since they themselves will take it from them, deceiving them, and giving advice that is really only in line with the advisor's own benefit.
Okay, so the advice itself might not particularly be bad, but because the person giving the advice has their own agenda, then it really is bad advice. It's not really so good because of that. So second, so now we're going to elaborate on how we could really truly give someone good advice and or have real advice Israel, really have love for a fellow Jew, really care about the other person and try to help them without it being anything to do with your own agenda, without you trying to gain from it. Okay? So it's not enough when you're, let's say, so for the example, the mitzvah of Ahavas Yisrael, loving your fellow Jew, it's not enough just that you are that the outcome will be good, that person will be helped, whatever it is. But the real question is, what is your intent? Is it about you or is it about them? And this is where we're going to learn how do we approach helping others or doing for others without it being about us, without it being only about the other person. So you're giving advice all for their help, their gain, and nothing to do with your own self. Okay, so text number 10. Okay, Batya.
This provides us with a remarkable lesson about the extent to which a Jew is obligated to invest him or herself in the well-being of another Jew. It is not enough that your actions happen to bring someone else benefit. What also matters is your approach, your intention, and your purpose. When you do a favor for another, one must be completely free of self-interest, thinking only of the other person's situation. Only then will your kindness be pure, untainted by hidden motives or personal gain.
Okay, so it has to be totally ego-free. You're doing it just for them and just for their well-being. So this is especially true when we're talking about a spiritual help. When you're trying to help somebody, give someone something spiritually, let them so that they should grow in their Judaism. It has to be totally for their gain and not your gain. So let's try to explain how the Rebbe learns it. So basically, if you're trying to bring someone closer to Judaism, get someone to do another mitzvah, whatever it is, it's not because you shouldn't be doing it because you're, oh wow, look, I got 10 people today to do this, or I did this, and now I put another feather in my hat. You're doing this totally for the other person. So we're going to learn how the Rebbe has a very interesting way of coming about to this teaching. Okay, so hang on because it's a little bit complicated, but hopefully the screen will help us. Okay, so basically, oh, it doesn't have this here. Okay. Okay, so I guess in the books, which none of you have the books because you're all on Zoom today, it shows us a picture, a little chart. There is 6 books of the Mishnah. Okay, the Mishnah is a part of the Talmud. The Mishnah has basic teachings of different parts of our life, different laws, different teachings of what Hashem wants from us. Okay, and just like everything else in Hebrew, they made an acrostic to remember these 6 books. Okay, so they took the first book of the first name, the first letter of every book, and they made that into 2 words. So here in text number 11, this is from the Zohar. This is not, so if we look here, see where it says the order of Zeraim. Zeraim is the first book. The second book is Moed. The third book is Nashim. The fourth book is Nezikim. The fifth book is Kedoshim. And the 6th book is Taharot. Okay? So they took that, and each of these books talk about something else. So here it's Zeraim talks about faith, and Moed talks about times, meaning holidays. Nashim talks about laws regarding women. Nezikin, it's a strength, I'm not sure why. Okay. Nezikin, salvations, Kedoshim, wisdom. Okay, so it's okay. I'll explain to you a little bit more about what each of these books talk about. Okay, or some of them at least. Okay, but we take all the first letter of each of the books. The Zohar came up with the 2 words, Zaman, Nakat. If you know the Hebrew, you can look over here. See Zion, Mem, Nun, and then Nun, Kaf, Tes. Zaman, Nakat. It doesn't really mean anything, but it's just a way for people to remember what's the 6 books, so what's the 6 orders of the Mishnah, okay? Now, we're going to look at the second word, nakat, and let me see if they have a picture. Oh, here we go, okay. There we go, zman nakat, okay? And here we say here, see, there we go. So, if we change the letters around of the second word, nakat, we could make the word tank. Tat, nun, kuf. And tank, what's a tank? What tank was the Rebbe referring to when he's saying, we're going to learn about a tank with these books of the Mishnah. The last 3 books of the Mishnah are damages of civil and criminal law, holy things, rituals of the temple, and Torah purities, rituals of purification. So what is this all about? Anyone here ever hear about mitzvah tank? No. Okay, so it's not so as common here as it is in New York, but if you go around anywhere in New York, especially Manhattan, they have these big, like, what are they called? RVs that are transformed into like a little mini mitzvah tank, mitzvah bus. So in it, there's like, place to put on tefillin, and they have all kinds of things to give out mitzvahs, to help people do mitzvahs. They play music, and they drive to different places, like different areas, usually Manhattan, but I'm sure they go all over today, like Brooklyn and everywhere else. And they stand on the corner, and they like say, oh, are you Jewish? And then they do a mitzvah with you there on the corner. So the original, or not the original, but it's many times when they do that, they go around with this like RV, and it's called a mitzvah tank. Now, why was it named a mitzvah tank? Just like a tank protects and helps fight off the enemies in war, when we go out on the streets with a mitzvah tank, we're fighting the spiritual war, but when we do the mitzvahs, it helps us be protected from the enemies and helps us fight them off, especially in the land of Israel. So even when we do the mitzvahs here, when we do these things here and get Jewish people to add a mitzvah, to do something else that they otherwise wouldn't have done, but they were stopped in the street to do it, it helps us conquer our enemies, and it helps protect us from our enemies. And interestingly enough, the New York Times once, actually this was years ago, but wrote a little article about the mitzvah tank. So most people in New York know all about it. Even here, sometimes you'll see like this, a little Jewish looking, I say bus, or like, airport type looking, airport van type of looking thing, going by with all kind of mitzvahs on it, or you for sure, have seen the idea of people standing outside and asking people if they want to do a mitzvah. So let us read. Yes, Yvette. Mitzvah, yeah. It's used, both words are used. Oh, this one's okay. Well, maybe like in the inner circle they call them mitzvah tank. Like back in 770, they may have said mitzvah tank, and then out on the street they said mobile. It's possible. Okay. I've heard it interchangeable. Okay. Anyway, text number 12. Who wants to read it? Okay, so let's go. Liat, are you still able to read?
Yes, I can read.
Okay.
For some 25 years, the mitzvah tank have been a familiar sight in busting downtown streets in colleges, college campuses in many cities across the country as a
Vibe, yeah.
vied for the hearts and minds of Jews. The Rebbe bestowed the decidedly martial name shortly after Israel's victory in the Six-Day War, calling them the tanks of his movement. It is a means of protecting ourselves by attacking the opposing power, the enemy. This is a tank This is a tank against assimilation, alienation. The Rebbe, in positioning it, introduces awareness and combats apathy and ignorance.
Okay, so anyone who learns from the Rebbe becomes part of his mission. And we know the Rebbe's mission is to conquer the world spiritually, meaning to get more and more people to do good things, to do the right thing. If it's a Jew, to do a mitzvah. If it's a non-Jew, to follow the laws of the seven Noahide laws, whatever it is. So it's in all of our duty, because you're all learning these classes and they all have lessons from the Rebbe in it. It's all our duty to try and help other Jews do another mitzvah, do something else, be part of this conquering the world spiritually. And so if we take the word, the Hebrew letters for the word tank, let me see if it's in the next slide, and we look at what book of the Mishnah they represent. Okay, so we're first going to look at the. Okay, this is not spelled in order. This is spelled how it's originally spelled, the order. But when it's tank, you have 1 second. Let's see if this now. Test first. Okay. 1 second. Okay, so you have the test first, and then you have the nun and the kuf. Now the nun stands for the book of Nezikin, which talks about damages, and the kuf stands for the book of Kedoshim, which talks about sanctity in the Beis HaMikdash, in the Holy Temple. And if we think about damages, it's kind of like a negative connotation. So it generally represents the mitzvahs, like serving Hashem by staying away from evil, staying away from bad. Like it's damaging. Don't do that. And then there's the kuf, the Kedoshim, the sanctity of the Beis HaMikdash. That is more like sanctity is more of a positive thing, and that represents doing mitzvahs by asay tov, by doing good, trying to come closer to good. So there's the idea of turning away from bad, and then there's the idea of doing good. So there's two types of ways of getting close to Hashem or serving Hashem. So sometimes we have to go away from bad, like don't speak lashon hara, don't hurt somebody else, right? Don't make someone stumble, whatever it is. And then there's the asay tov, the do good, like be kind and nice, do helpful things to other people, give more tzedakah, do positive things. So if we look at the second part of the word tank if we spell it out in Hebrew, we see that it talks about two types of mitzvahs, leaving bad, doing good. So then what is the test that comes before it? And why is the test before it? So the test stands for the book of Taharos, which means purity. Why does you have to have purity before we talk about these two mitzvah approaches? And that is because when you set out to bring someone else closer spiritually, when you're going to engage someone spiritually towards Judaism, you need to be pure. You have to have pure intentions. You are on Hashem's team and you're trying to win somebody else over to Hashem's team. It's not about for yourself. It's not about you, but you have to do it. You have to be totally pure of any ego before you go and do that. You have to go and make sure that you're pure. And then when you ask them to do a mitzvah and stuff, they are going to, feel that it's going to be a real ask, and it's really going to be coming from the heart. So that is read text number 13. I'll explain it a little more in a moment. Okay. Valentina, you want to read it?
Yes. First and foremost, the other person must not feel that you're trying to deceive them or gain something from it for yourself. Whether to make a name for yourself or any other ulterior motives. When they believe that you speak with sincerity, then their heart opens, allowing them to listen, to understand, to recognize what you're sharing about the mitzvot of learning Torah or donning tefillin or affixing a mezuzah or giving charity or filling one's home with Jewish books. So before anything else, one must embody the quality of purity to cleanse oneself of any self-serving interests or hidden agendas.
Okay. So that kind of sometimes seems difficult. If you're working hard and you're trying to help somebody, how do you not get your own ego or interest involved or in the way? You really have to have that purity first. Oh, there. Now we see the, okay. Okay, so to answer it, we are going to look at one of the Jewish instigators that were in the Torah. His name was Korach, if you remember him. But he tried to rebel against Moshe because he said, "Why is Moshe and Aaron getting all the honors and all the special stuff? You know, we deserve it too." He ended up being swallowed. He's the guy that ended up being swallowed by the ground in a big earthquake. If we look at his name, okay, let's first, yeah. If we look at his name, let's see if it's going to show us in the, okay. Okay, so if we look at his name, it's a, and I wish they had this on the screen, but they don't. Okay, it's a kuf, a resh, and a ches. Those three letters all have like a hey, if anyone knows what the hey looks like, kind of have like a hey in them, but each one has like not a good hey. Like the kuf is a little bit slanted, the resh is missing that extra foot of the hey, the ches is closed, is not open like the hey is open. So we're going to learn, something from his name, Korach, and something about the letter hey. So the lines of the letter hey are like three pillars of the human experience of thought, speech, and deeds. Let's read text number 14. I lost of who we're up to. Is it Carrie about yeah? Okay.
Oh, it's Carrie's turn.
Carrie, okay, fine.
Oh, the form of the letter hey is made up of three lines. Two connected lines that represent thought and speech, and a third line that represents action.
Okay, so the hey, let's see what it has on the next page. Okay. So here's the hey, okay? So the hey, these two parts is thought and speech, and this one over here is action. So thought and speech kind of a direct, just like on the letter hey, they're connected because thought and speech are a direct correlation. You kind of think and then you speak what your thoughts are. They kind of flow into each other. You don't have to sit and like process it as much as action. But with action, before you do an action, you would hope at least, you take a break, you kind of pause. And you, at least a healthy person, pause and say, hey, what am I going to do now? I thought about this, I spoke about it. What's the action? And before jumping into the action, they pause. And that's why there is a space over here between thought and speech, and then over here, the action. And I'm going to see that even in wording. Let's see what it says here. Wording of the prophet. Batya's turn.
Everyone that is called by my name for my glory, I created it. I formed it, and I even made it.
Okay, what does this mean? It's talking about Hashem. Hashem saying, everyone called by my name. Okay. What does that mean? So let us continue. Liat.
Okay. The verse states, "For my glory I created it, formed it, I even made it." This corresponds to thought, speech, and action. Created refers to thoughts, something emerging from nothing. Formed it refer to speech, which gives shape, forming the letters that were first present in thought. I even made it refers to action. The Torah uses the word even here because action is its own category, distinct from speech. Speech is directly linked to thought. It simply shapes the very idea already present in the mind. But physical action stands apart as something entirely different. This is reflected in the shape of the letter He, which is made up of 3 lines, 2 connected lines representing thoughts and speech, and a separate line representing action.
Okay, so even in the words that it says that Hashem says, I created, I formed, that I even made it. So that extra word even shows that separation, that pause of what that there is a break that before they do something, because they're thinking, is this the right thing or whatever thing to do? So a normal, healthy person, that's how they conduct themselves. They think before they act, or whatever, they pause before they act. With Korach, though, you see, okay, now it's showing to us the word Korach. You see that there's different. There's a little issue, not a hey, with each of the letters of his name. So here you have the kuf, whose final line is too long, because the kuf feigns piety. Oh, I'm so great, I'm so good, but really is not. Or you have the resh. The resh is missing that action because he does too little. Or the ches, which doesn't have the break from between thought, speech, and action. So so there the person is too rash. They don't think before they act. They don't pause to make that break, and that's where you get the set. So the Hebrew word Korach, who was an instigator rebellion or a rebellious person against Moshe in the times of the desert, you see that his name represents this impulsive or not good action. So practically speaking, a Jew thinks, speaks, and pauses before he does something. And what is that pause? He looks into the Jewish law and says, hey, how am I supposed to behave here? What am I doing over here? Am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the wrong thing? Where am I supposed to be right now? And he checks how he's supposed to behave. So if we take an example of one mitzvah, we'll say, how do we put this into practice with what we just learned today? So we're going to take the mitzvah of tzedakah, charity. And someone gives charity, someone gives tzedakah, not because you could plaster your name on the wall and say, oh, I gave charity, or because, oh, wow, okay, it made me feel good, I just gave it, I did my job. But we need to give according to the need. So you have to say, what does this person need? Not what am I going to gain from it? What's my need? I need to give tzedakah. But what does this person need? Do they need $18 or do they need $1,800? Do they need, what is it that they need? Do they need a smile? Do they need, what exactly does that person need from me now? It's not about me. It's really about them. So it's not just about checking the boxes. Okay, I did this, I did that, I did the other, I did the right thing. But it's really about filling a need. Text 16. Carrie.
Here's the distinction. When action is directly connected to thought without any interruption, the person is really only thinking about themselves. All thoughts, speech, and actions are focused on their own benefit. For example, when giving charity, they may only give a small amount, like 18 cents, because that satisfies their internal requirement, even though they could afford to give $18 or 18 times $100, depending on the situation. However, when there's a break between thought and action, like the shape of the letter hey, the person is thinking not just about their own action, but about the action itself, meaning about how their action imparts others.
Continues.
This break between thought and action, as seen in the form of the letter hey, not the form of het, indicates the need for the giver to first curate their influence according to the receiver's capacity. This ensures that the recipient can receive the influence in a way that is appropriate for them.
So when we want to help somebody in some way or another, we need to be deliberate and thoughtful, right? We think before we just do. Okay, there's like there's like this guy who says, "Oh, I love my wife so much. I love my wife so much. I bought 2 tickets to Paris. I'm gonna take her on a vacation to Paris. I bought 2 tickets to Paris because I love her so much." And the wife says, "You don't love me because you didn't buy the tickets to Paris because you love me. You bought the tickets to Paris because you want to go to Paris. I'd rather stay home and and have a nice quiet night in the house." So are you doing something for somebody else because it makes you feel good, because you're gaining out of it, and you feel, oh, there's a mitzvah, so okay, great? Or are you doing because what the other person really needs? As advice that you're giving them all for them, or you're giving it because it's going to help you too, going to somehow make you feel better or do something for you. I just wanted to end with a cute little story about a doctor, a very well-known doctor. He was a really, really good doctor. And he had great bedside manners, really nice, kind, and everything. And he helped a lot of people, but he really liked to talk about himself. He was a little bit self-righteous. And one time he's traveling along in his old days, traveling along in his coach, and he sees a rabbi walking down the road. So he says, "Oh, Rabbi, come in, I'll give you a ride." And the rabbi says, "Oh, thank you so much. It's so nice of you." And they start to talk, and the doctor starts to tell the rabbi all about his great work. He says, "When a patient comes to me and he can't afford to pay, I treat him exactly as I do a paying customer." And the rabbi says, "Oh, that's so nice. I also do that." The doctor's a little surprised. And he says, "Oh, how does that? The rabbi doesn't even seem to have any medical skills." Well, anyway, maybe people who come to him with rabbinical questions, he treats them all the same. Then the doctor says again, "When I see patients who can't afford to pay me, I provide free medication for them also, not just free advice, but I also give them free medication." And the rabbi says, "Oh, I do that too." And the doctor's like, "What? Is the rabbi giving out medicine? What's going on over here?" Maybe it means that he, usually charges for his, when people come to speak to him, and if it's a needy person, doesn't really charge them. Then the doctor says, it goes again. He goes on further. "When I see a patient who can't afford to pay my fee or the medicine, and they need to go somewhere else to recover for the illness, I'll even pay for their trip for them to go and get better." And I says, "Oh, and I for sure up the rabbi. The rabbi's not going to have anything to say, in response." And believe it or not, the rabbi says, "I do the same." And the doctor's totally lost it. And he says, "Excuse me, Rabbi, I don't understand. Are you a doctor? Do you give medical care? Do you give out medicine? Do you arrange for needy patients to go to health spas? What do you mean I do the same?" And the rabbi says, "I just want to tell you that I too talk to others only about the good things I do. My faults I never talk about, just like you." So that is a little lesson from our class today. Help others, give advice to others, be a good person, but always remember why you're doing it. What's the real reason, for you or for them? Hopefully that will keep us in a good place.